Georgia has become a film center. Think Hunger Games. Think some of these others. And yet, the people they need, they can't get. The masons, the carpenters, those who build the sets. And in Georgia, because they're so gung-ho in getting every kid to college, enrollments at their two-year technical schools have dropped almost 25% in the last several years. Demand, supply. So there's a shortage. Middle skill occupations is a term labor market economists use. And what we know about these middle skill sub-baccalaureate credentials is 43, these are national data now. Most of this is national data. 43% of credential programs, those people earn more than those who get traditional associate degrees. 27% of the credential programs earn more than those who get baccalaureate degrees. These are less than 2 years even. And if you combine all two-year credentials, almost a third of them earn more than people who get baccalaureates. So this middle skill occupation arena is something to think about. And that turns out to be where there's a lot of robust growth. Now, you've probably heard this, not enough college graduates. McKinsey, Global Institute, another group that's no slouch in doing good research and writing really dense policy papers. They predict we're going to be 1.5 million people short with college degrees by 2020. Now, take 1.5 divided by 165 million, add a few more H-1B visas, we're good to go. So do we distort the entire education system to meet a need that's a tiny, tiny fraction of what we expect to be happening? So, on the other hand, Vedder and his group at the Center for College Affordability and Productivity says we're turning out too many college graduates. And indeed, they've got some interesting data. 1 in 3 of them say that the job they're in requires less than a baccalaureate, those who actually get through college, and that it turns out it isn't the degree, but it's the proxy the degree represents. Because we don't have very good credentials in America for the workforce, unlike most of Europe and many other places in the world. So employers don't know what to do with a high school diploma. They don't know if somebody's got a college degree, they assume there's a certain amount of human capital there they can build on. It's an assumption. And because they've got not much else to work with. There's a lot of credential inflation going on. In fact, there's an outfit called Burning Glass. Have you all run across their stuff? Burning Glass? They actually sign, it's a private firm, you got to pay to get their data. But they did put out a report recently where they said the demand for the baccalaureate degree is increasing because of the lack of credentials that employers can trust. But they also say that jobs that resist this credential inflation are things like engineering, healthcare, those are 2 big areas, and there's some others they talk about. And that when you actually have good credentials and certifications that are recognized by business and industry, they don't look for the baccalaureate, they look for the credential. So if you're going to go into advanced manufacturing and you've got NIMS certification, you've got something good. If you're going to go to Houston, Texas and make $80,000 a year as a pipeline welder, they want to see those AWS certifications. Those are gold. They know what that represents because of how you have to get them, right? So there are some out there, but by and large, our economy is not well structured in that respect. And the problem is, of course, the expense of higher ed. How many of you have kids in higher ed? How many of you on your 3rd mortgage trying to pay? Oh, never mind. Too personal. So we have been doing a very good job of getting more people into college and through college. Look at those bars. Increases. We've increased associates, baccalaureates, masters, doctorates since 2001. We've been doing this, but what's the effect? Supply and demand. Green is supply. This is an aggregate. Red is demand. And how many of you in here pay homage to the deity of supply and demand? When demand stays the same, supply goes up, what happens to price? Think oil, think gasoline, right? We're living that case example right now. And so this leads to some interesting distortions. 1970, 1% of taxi drivers had a baccalaureate. Now 15% do. 25% of sales clerks had baccalaureates, whereas only 5% in 1970. 1970, you couldn't find a janitor with a baccalaureate. My God, what were they doing? Now about 5% of them have baccalaureates. Cleaning buildings, cleaning whatever. So, again, from another survey, almost half the grads say the job they have doesn't require a baccalaureate. Over a third said at best it's high school. But here we are with 4 years of college debt working in a high school level job. I was an employer once when I actually worked for a living before I figured out what a scam it was to be a college professor. Highly recommend it, by the way. And I'm sorry, did I say something funny? My career counseling is get a PhD, become a tenured prof. That's it. You're good. You're set for life. So you just harass a few grad students and annoy your dean. Life is good. The problem is, again, that we've got this bizarre system where employers are more and more demanding baccalaureates because they don't know what else to look for, and we're not giving it to them. So, third perspective, it's a disruptor. Homework assignment, read this book. You can get it down from Amazon, Google, it's like $3 or $4 or $5 now. It's been out a couple of years. They've got a second edition, but read this one first. Race Against the Machine, two economists. First one has a J in the middle of his name, so he's obviously from Minnesota, so you can't pronounce his name. Two economists who said they set out to look at a question that has been looked at over years and years and years. What is the impact of evolving technology on the workplace, on the job market? And he said, here's the deal. Historically, technology has been a disruptor. When the French got so frustrated with the mechanized looms, they threw their sabots into them to screw them up and gave us that wonderful term, les sabotage. Right? Ned Ludd in England, who was so appalled at that 6-year-olds working 14 hours a day in the factory, led strikes and was attacked by the English troops and all that kind of stuff. But gave us the term Luddite because part of what he was against was what the machines were doing to human existence. So historically, we have resisted technology. But historically, technology has destroyed some jobs, but in its wake created more jobs, new skill sets, until now. This is their most surprising finding. So, how many of you all have a deep personal relationship with a disembodied female? We'll call her Siri. How many tell Siri things you wouldn't tell your spouse? How many complain to Siri when life's not? Don't answer those questions. The point is, Siri knows you. And if Siri knows you, Apple knows you. Okay? So let me make a distinction here. There's something we call work. Work is what is done to produce goods and services for consumption, distribution, and so forth. Jobs are what people do in the context of work. Work can be done by people, jobs. Work can be done by software, by robots, by other technologies. So lots of things can produce goods and services. People are only one of the elements. And so here's what's happening. Race against the machine. Imagine the impact when this thing goes full out on UPS, on the Postal Service, on FedEx, on the milkman. Do we still have milkman? Maybe. Any kind of delivery service. Imagine the impact when they can just program the vehicle to stop at your house. You run out there, open up the gate, take the package out, and it's on to the next place. Thousands of jobs. How many have an ATM card on their person? Got rid of hundreds of thousands of bank tellers. We still have bank tellers, but not many, right? You mostly do it online, right? Jobs gone, work continues. Work expands. IBM Watson beat the humans at Jeopardy, the end of which the one guy goes, I bow to the overlord. That current version of that machine is more than double the power it had when it beat the humanoids. Deep Blue plays a pretty good game of chess. How many have had any interaction with the square? Right? I have it on good authority, drug dealers love it.